Hey, and welcome back. Let's continue to work on signing in the user. All right, let's jump into our register component. And then let's copy these lines, Axios and Toast message. Now let's open our login component. And then we want to paste those lines in. So I'll paste it right here. Now we want to work on our handle change. So let's go back to register and then copy this line, our handle change function. And then let's paste it here. Now we want to go down to our input. First we begin with the name. This will be email. And then this one will be password. Next we want to pass in the handle change function. So handle change. Let's copy this line and then paste it here. Let's scroll up and we need to set our state. So const data set data will be use state and it will be the initial state. Now let's define that up here. So const initial state will be name and then password. Alright, now let's work on our login function. So down here, let's say const login. It will be an async function that will take in a value. First, we want to prevent the default. And then we want to use our validate helper. So let's navigate back to register. Let's copy our helper, which is here, and then paste it here. We're only gonna need the is empty and is email. So let's remove these two. And then let's go back to register again and scroll down. Let's get this one. The is empty. Let's go back to login and then down to our login function. We want to paste this here. And instead of name, we want to say email. Next, we want to spread out the data. So right here, say const email password will be data. All right, let's go back to our login function. So this one was check field. So check fields. Next, we want to check email. So I will paste the line in and I will remove this line and say if the is email format is incorrect. We want to change our message also and say please enter a valid email address. Alright, now let's set up our try and catch block. Error in our catch block. We want our toast message. It will be error response data message. After that, there will be some options. So let's copy these lines right here. And then I'll paste it here. Alright, now to our try block. First, we want to make our API call. So await Axios dot post. And then our sign in endpoint was /API/auth/sign in. Alright, and then we want to pass in the email and password. Next, we want to use our local storage. So local storage and set an item. And we will name it _app sign in. And we will set its value to be true. After this, we will use our case of sign in. So in order to do that, let's scroll up and then let's say const dispatch and it will be use context. So tap that and it will auto import. Right here. Next, the context we want to use is our auth context. So tap that again and it will auto import for us right here. Alright, let's go down to our login function. So after setting the item in our local storage, we want to say dispatch and then our action type was sign in. Alright, let's give this a quick save. Next, we want to navigate to our app.js file And then down here, we want to take in our dispatch and then also our token. And now when a user is logged in, we want to also to get the access token for them, because if they want to update their user information, they will need this access token. And to set this up, we will use a use effect. So let's say get access token and then use effect, tap that, and then inside we will want an arrow function. So the first thing we want to do is check for the local storage if it has the app sign in item that we set when we sign in. So back to login, when the user sign in, we have set this item app sign in to be true. So in app.js, we want to check for that because all sign in user will have that item in their local storage. So let's say const underscore app sign in is equal local storage get item, and the item was underscore app sign in. And then we want to say if underscore app sign in, if it exists, then we want to fire this function, which is get token. It will be an async function. And then we're going to make our API call and store that in a response. So const res await axios dot post, and then axios auto import for us. Next, our endpoint was /API /auth /access. And then we're going to say no because we're not passing anything. We just want to get the access token. And then up here, I spelled async wrong. Alright. Next, we want to dispatch our action. And it was the type of get token, because we want to store this access token in the global token state. So the user will always have this access token when they sign in. So to get this access token, we're going to say payload will be the response data and then AC underscore token, because this is what our server will return back to us. And then after this, we want to fire the function. Next, we also want to set the dependency for our use effect. So it will be our dispatch and then it's logged in. And then up here, I need to put a comma after token. After this, we will set up another use effect, and the purpose of this use effect will be getting the user data. So once a user is logged in, their information will be displayed in the profile layout. So down here, let's say get user data, and then we want to say use effect. Inside will be an arrow function, and then we want to say if the token exists, then we will get the user data. Because in our first use effect, if the user is logged in, we check for the local storage, and this should be true. So if this is true, we will go get the access token, and then we will store that in the token global state. So now a user that is logged in will have this access token in their global token state. So now indeed, if that exists, we will get the user data. So let's say const get user, it will be an async function, and we want to dispatch the sign in again. This will keep the sign in persistent, so even if the user refresh the browser, they will still be signed in. Next, we want to call our endpoint, so const res await axios.get, and our endpoint was /API /auth /user, and then we want to pass in the access token, and our server is looking for it in the header. So we're going to say headers, and then authorization, and then we will pass in the token. So when we set up our backend, in order to get the user data, the user will need to have the access token first, and then our server will return the user data. Next, we want to dispatch our get user case, and then we want to store the user data in a payload inside our global user state. Now we want to fire this function, so get user, and then tell use effect the dependency will be dispatch and token. Alright, before saving, I typed this wrong right here. There's an extra G, so delete that, and now I will save. Next, let's navigate back to our login, and now we need to use our login function. So in our form, let's say on submit, we will find the login function, And we also need to wrap our form in a fragment so we can use our toast container. And then toast container right here. Also down in our login button, it will have a type of submit. Alright, before we save, there is one more typo up here that I made, which is in our endpoint. Once again, I put an extra G. Alright, now let's save and then check out our front end. I will do a hard reload and input my credential. So passion corners and then the password. And here we are successfully signed in. And this will also wrap up the lesson. And in our next lesson, we will sign out the user. So see you then.